That we are. Everybody, I mean, those of you who are watching anyways, thanks for coming back. Welcome to Real Estate Makes Us Drink. Brian Quinlan here with Daniels Real Estate.
Brad Nickham with Nest Mortgage Group.
Brad, cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome back to the program, my friend.
Welcome back to my bar.
Well, you know, nowhere else I'd rather be on a Friday. This is Friday.
Friday for me. I'm normally at my bar.
Are you?
I'm here a lot. Yeah, it's I haven't got kicked out yet.
Well, when you build a bar like this, you got to spend time in it.
You do. Yep. It'd be dumb not to. And it's
Really would.
silly to drink other places.
We've talked about this before, but only briefly. Like, you seem to have run out of place on the shelves. So will this be expanding?
Nope. I
No.
drink them too fast. There's a constant
Okay.
overrun.
Is there backstock? Like if I go in the back room, like at the wine store?
No, unfortunately, there was some Old Smoky Sun Beach,
Oh yeah.
which is one of my favorite
Right.
moonshines. And I try to buy up enough of them to where when we make it through winter, because they quit making it in the summertime.
Yeah. Well, they quit making it in the winter? No?
No, they quit making it in the wintertime. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
okay.
said that wrong.
Yeah, it's fine.
I haven't even drank it yet.
Right.
But the
Couple. Oh, there's a box that you all cannot see. It is an empty box. Why do you keep an empty box, clown?
I realized somebody pulled the last bottle out, and so I was checking to see if they actually threw the box away. They did not.
Okay, box is gone.
So I do only have one bottle of it left on.
You know what that means? It's time for another trip.
The problem is it's not summer.
Shoot.
So I would
Do they really? Is it like they only roll it out in the spring?
I think it starts to come out in the late spring.
Okay, so you got a little time, and
Yeah.
you still have some.
But last year they did it. 2 years ago they didn't bring it out.
Really?
Yeah, it was. I had to find it in a little liquor store in Gatlinburg, way overpriced.
Oh yeah. See, now I'm not a big moonshine guy, but that Sun Beach is good.
Most alcohol.
The Sun Beach is good.
It is.
Very good.
That's one of my favorite ones. I like all of them.
If it has the words Old Smoky on it, you're good.
Or moon or shine. I'm kind of a fan of distilled spirits in it.
Yeah?
In all forms except for gin.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Gin makes me angry.
Well, all right. Well, let's talk about what's in the glass today, sir.
Guess. What's
It's
in it?
brown. It's I mean, it's tequila.
It's tequila, yeah.
Of course.
This is a tequila old-fashioned.
Oh, you had one of those before on the show?
Yeah, I did.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Because it was a brown liquid, and I'm like, that's not tequila. You said it's a tequila old-fashioned. Well, here we are again.
Tequila old-fashioned with a little agave syrup to make it nice and sweet, and a little bit of Cointreau to get a little orange in there.
Okay.
And then just a few ounces of añejo tequila.
And a gigantic ball of ice.
It's a huge ice ball. Yeah. So it's very tasty. I like
Yeah.
it very much.
I like those fancy ice balls.
I do too. They come in a very unfancy rubber green
Yeah.
thing to put in the freezer.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there you go. So what do you got over
Well,
there today?
today's beer, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm torn when I buy this beer because if you can't see it on the screen there, it's Boiler Gold.
Yeah, that's
And I have 2 college degrees from Indiana University. So to buy
neither have
something,
been beer picking.
no, anyways, to buy something that says Boiler Gold is always painful. But I got to say, I've had it before. This is not my first try. This is a good beer.
Is it better than the IU beer?
They're both very similar, to be quite honest.
Okay.
So I mean, given a taste test, I really couldn't tell the difference between the two, but my palate's not very good in and of itself. But this is from Lafayette, Indiana, not surprisingly.
Yeah.
Brewed.
It'd be weird if it was made in Bloomington.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? Brewed in Bloomington.
I'd be worried about what was in it if they actually made it in Bloomington.
People's Brewing Company is what it's called. So yeah, it's good stuff. I'll send you to your local liquor store, Boiler Gold. I will not say the boiler and the direction that goes after that for you boiler fans, because I do refuse that part.
Yeah, it was really hard to see you pull that out because I knew that you're a big IU person.
For real. Now, little story to that though. I grew up in Illinois, so I did not grow up with the Indiana-Purdue rivalry as part of my genealogy. No one in my family went to either of those schools.
Right.
So my affiliation with Indiana University is because I went to college there. And the time that I was in college there, Indiana was a phenomenal basketball program.
Yeah.
That was
One of the greatest coaches in history. Mr. Bobby Knight.
Bob Knight was there, and it was the early 90s. I mean, ranked number 1 for a time, made it to the Final Four. So I had a really good run of time Calbert Chaney was there, became the all-time leading scorer in Big Ten history, and still is.
You know the difference between an IU beer and a Purdue beer?
What's that?
They would never have a Purdue NCAA basketball championship beer.
That is correct. And I will say the reason I brought this today,
Can I
because
have one more?
all right, go ahead.
That was the nice way to say it. I was going to say when you drink the Purdue beer during March Madness, you choke.
Oh,
There you
see,
go, everybody.
I did not say that.
No, that was
So
me,
for
sorry.
you Purdue people out there, but I purposely brought this because this weekend, and this is being recorded March, what's today, 8th, they are about to finish the regular season. Big Ten tournament starts next week, and
Way better than IU.
they will. Oh, IU won't make the tournament, but Purdue will undoubtedly be a number 1 seed, and truly, I think they have a very good chance of winning the national championship because they are an incredible team. So
then at that point, someone could grab the Boilermaker beer and chug it without choking.
they could, and I feel, I guess maybe a little bad for the Purdue people because there aren't any national championship banners there in West Lafayette. However, if they do happen to win it this year, which is definitely a possibility, IU fans will still ride them because there are 5
It'll be the
in
loneliest
Bloomington,
banner in a
right?
gymnasium.
And that's completely unfair. And I mean, heck, IU hasn't won it since '87.
Right.
Been to the championship game, I think it was 2002, so that has even been 20 plus years. Actually, here's a funny. So one of my college buddies, who's a huge IU fan, we had a text strand going back and forth, and he's like, when Coach Knight died, was it really sad down in Bloomington? I said, I don't think so, but number 1, I don't live there.
Right.
But number 2, the kids in college today weren't even born when Bob Knight got let go at IU. They have no history with him. Yeah. I mean, they can fake history. They can, show some sort of allegiance to him and to the history of IU basketball just because of, it's a long and great history, of course. But they don't have a clue who Bob Knight really was. And so I highly doubt that it was a big letdown day at the university for the students anyways.
Right, yeah. They probably know about a little bit of the story.
Absolutely.
Right? And the fact that it was a great coach and great teams, but yeah, it's just not that probably big a deal to those kids.
No, probably not.
The kids today don't really pay attention to a lot of the things that happened in the 1900s.
Correct. And, sports in general, allegiance is such a hard thing nowadays. I mean, it's even now come down into college for the last few years with the whole NIL and the transfer portal. I mean, a kid goes to school
I don't even know what that means.
Well, a kid goes to school for a year. It used to be prior to, I don't know if it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, but a kid would commit to a college.
Right.
And then when they go to college, if they choose to transfer to another university, they had to sit out an entire season before they could play for that particular school. That's no longer the case. You could transfer and play for any school you want the very next season. So it's almost like free agency in college athletics. Right. And it's unfortunately ruined allegiances. And
yeah,
so,
it becomes a little more about the player.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Versus the team. Although
Undoubtedly.
I don't watch a lot of college football, but it seems like the rivalries in college football are still as strong.
Yeah, and there's definitely that in college basketball. I mean, even though IU sucks when they play Purdue, it's still a big rivalry game. Duke and North Carolina is still a huge game, and there are others, of course, out there. But overall, just the whole allegiance thing in sports in general, unfortunately, has kind of died off. And so, and I will say, it's not necessarily a bad thing caused only by NIL. I mean, the whole opening up of sports on TV to any market in any place in the country at any time of day. When we were kids, I would have no idea what's going on the West Coast until I saw the scores the next day. Now I can watch it live, when I'm up at midnight.
Think about it, when that old guy graduated from IU, and moved back to Texas and couldn't listen to the games. He got on the interweb and made a company, right?
Yeah, he did.
And now Mark Cuban made it to where we could all listen to it on the internet. And now, I mean, you stream everything all
Yep.
the time. There's no waiting for anything.
Absolutely. And, that's a good thing.
I think so. I like TV.
It exposes people to places outside of their local territory that,
Right.
20, 30 plus years ago wasn't even an option.
And there's nothing better than waking up on like a Saturday afternoon with nothing to do and watching some girls basketball team from a college in a state that you weren't sure was really a state play a city that you've never heard of.
Right.
That's so
But you know what?
great.
Somebody on that team has a parent or a grandparent on the East Coast, and they can now watch them.
This is true, yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. So last night, you and I went to the REMMY Awards,
Yeah.
and I'll throw a public shout out here. Thank you for inviting Stephanie and me.
Bet you guys would enjoy it.
Yeah, it was really cool. And my wife kind of brought this up. She goes, we had a good time, but it's not like I was up for any awards. So it was just kind of a show up for some free food and drink, which was great. But I will say, post awards, I found it pretty inspirational. To kind of push me to up my game and hopefully be recognized sometime in the future at something like that. There are, and I'm going to say, you like to make fun of realtor awards, and I don't. I'm actually not going to discredit that because you are absolutely right. In that, brokerages will come up with an awards night to award the people who work there in the building for doing their job.
We would like to recognize this guy for drinking coffee every morning.
Yes, and I will say, having been a teacher, we used to just give awards, especially when I was like a second grade teacher. We had to make sure every kid in the classroom got an award on awards day. I was like, seriously, we're giving this kid an attendance award just because they were here? Like, it was just stupid.
His mom brought him.
Exactly. They had no control over that. But in a way, the realtor awards within a brokerage, I think, are kind of similar to that. It's like, let's find a way to award each other for stuff for doing our job. And we can post about it and say, hey, look, I won an award. Well, that's great. Most people don't really care. Last night's awards, I will say, from my standpoint, was different because it's an organization not affiliated with any of the business that are there.
Right.
And they are recognizing those who are excelling at their profession, and it is broad-based. I mean, it is all over Indianapolis and surrounding areas, and recognizing us among our peers. But it was really cool, and I'm going to stop talking. So what's the REMMY Awards?
Remington Ramsey, the owner of the magazine.
Hi, Remington. Sure you're watching now.
It's a great magazine. He came up with this concept in the Indianapolis area. I think 2014 or 15 was the time frame, and now it's in, I think he said 160 markets.
It was a lot, yeah.
And he just figured out a way to get some great exposure for real estate agents outside of their brokerage. The realtors never pay for the marketing, and they're never paid to be in the magazine. And it's the partnerships with other vendors that pay for the magazine. And
Like yourself.
Yeah, and he
So
does a great
thanks.
job, presenting us as vendors, other people in the industry that are trying to meet realtors, a great platform. And they do a lot of great charities along with it. But I do give you a hard time about it. But I also understand there's something really important that a lot of people miss in their whole life. They go to work, so they're working in a factory, or they're working in construction, or you go work all day, you get your bucks at the end of the day, and you take them home. And most people are yearning for one thing more than the money they make, and it's some recognition.
Sure.
And there's that little thing where when your boss tells you you did a great job, it helps you do a little better. And in the real estate business and the mortgage business as well, we're on our own.
Yeah.
We're part of a company, but we're really on an island, and it really is about being able to wake up every day and do it again. And when you're in sales of any kind, I don't care what you sell, it's the same. I've said that for years. I've been in sales my whole adult life. And I don't care if you're selling chairs, beer, or houses. You have to wake up every day and motivate yourself to go do it again, and have somebody else maybe tell you no, or have a client disappoint you with their answer, or the worst part is when somebody does say, man, I'm not interested right now. For some reason, salespeople internalize that and think, oh, they didn't like me.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, oh, no, that last guy that bought from me didn't like you either. So it's not about that. And I do recognize the fact that getting together in an organization and recognizing those that have succeeded does inspire other people to get there. And being recognized for the things that you do every day it's really nice to have somebody go, hey, great job. You know?
And I will say, backing up, I guess, because I did kind of rip on the brokerages, but celebration of success is important.
Yeah.
And it is motivational. And some people take motivation at different levels, of course. But at the end of a year, to look back on all that you've accomplished, even if it's just a certificate that I might hang on my wall,
right.
It's not necessarily a, what's the point of this? Because, it's important to get recognition, I think, because you're right. In the world of sales, each day is a new day. Right. And you literally do have to motivate yourself to get up and go do it every day. And so the recognition is nice. Every year I was at KW, I got an award, and it was great walking back to my seat. Hey, I got my certificate, and I'd be on a high for a little while. But seeing those who excelled at a higher level than me, that's motivational in front of the peers.
In the mortgage world, we don't get awards.
No.
There's only one thing that. One place that we're ever really recognized, and it's based on how much volume you did in the United States. So it makes it a little bit harder to be recognized. And it's called the Scotsman Guide. It's just what do they call magazines that are, and it's an industrial rag. So they call it those magazines that are just industry magazines. Those kind of need to be in that magazine.
Yeah, but
now, one difference is it costs us $200 to put our information in line to see if we made it in the magazine. So, there's that.
That's a little different.
So, but yeah, I haven't been a person that, in what I do for a living, I don't want to say I don't like people recognizing me or saying I did a good job or whatever. That's why I work probably every day. But knowing that each day I get to be a part of that team that did get to go across stage and get that award, and helping the people that do, buy a house. And the easy ones are fun, right? Helping somebody, some 800 credit score,
right.
mega millionaire, put all the money down. That's pretty fun. But helping that first-time home buyer guide through the process and buy home, those are the ones that are kind of fun. Like I have a customer we're working with today that we're helping her purchase her parents' home. We get to do a gift of equity on that house. So no money down, no money out of pocket. It has a bunch of equity in the home. And at the end of the day, you help this young person buy their first home. That's the recognition that I enjoy the most, really. It's pretty cool.
Glad you brought that up. We'll transition that way. So you say gift of equity, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there that have absolutely no idea what that means. So let's roll there. What can you explain what that means?
Well, we had that podcast back. I don't know. Seems like years ago.
We just started late last summer.
Yeah. There's one we talked about what equity was, and you can't buy bread with equity at the grocery store. I think it's one of the
correct.
So equity is what you have earned after you've owned that house and bought it, right? So I have a customer that bought a home back in 2019 maybe. So they bought that house for $120,000, and they have a family member that's moved there while going to college. Now that family member's graduated from college, has a job, and wants to purchase that home from mom and dad. And mom and dad bought it for that purpose to help the child. And I see this a lot. I see this with grandparents that want to sell the family home. I just did one of those just a couple months ago, where a grandmother was selling the house, and the family wanted it. They wanted to live in the family home. So the equity that person has earned on that house now can be a gift to the family member buying the house. So meaning, let's say there's $100,000 of equity, right? Let's say I bought a house for $100,000. I've owned it enough year now, it's worth $200,000, and I want to just sell it to my kid for $100,000. So in a normal sale, let's say you're not a family member, that person's going to buy that house for $100,000, even though it appraises for $200,000, right? you got to come up with your minimum 3% down payment, so $3,000. You have to come up with your closing costs potentially, unless you can get the seller to pay your closing costs.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to come up with your earnest money, which is that little deposit to hold the house. We'll talk about that in a second. So you got to come out of pocket with some money, even as a first-time home buyer. But let's say mom, grandma, or grandpa is selling that house to son or grandson or granddaughter or daughter. Put whatever the gender in there. That way I'm not getting in trouble.
No one's watching anyways.
So now they can sell that house for $200, gift you the $100 as your down payment, and now they walk away with $200 with their $100 that they wanted for the house, and you bought it with no money down. And if you put it together right, let's say there's $5,000 in closing costs.
Mhm.
So now they sell it to you for $200, and you buy it from them for $105, and have them pay your $5,000 in closing costs. And now you literally got out of that with no money down. And when you're buying it from a family member, you really don't need to buy into that contract with an earnest money deposit,
Okay.
because it's between family. And nothing goes smoother than dealing with family.
In the world of what did you call it? I'm sorry. Equity. Gifts of equity. Thank you.
Just remember equity, and then the gift that is being here with me as an experience.
Right. I think of that often. I'm surprised that didn't just roll off my tongue. In the world of gifts of equity, is there a dollar amount limit?
No.
As I know that, like, if a family member just wanted to gift me some money that I could use as a down payment, that's limited.
Yeah. So now we're going to get into a little accountant speak that is a little over my head. Okay.
Okay.
But there is
Generalize it as best you can.
There is a rule that you can gift a certain amount of property, equity of a property, to a family member without having to file a gift letter
Okay.
for your taxes. And you have like a one-time exclusion. I believe it is up to $10 million
Oh.
of property gifting.
Okay.
So when you're going to get into tax issues of gifts of equity, of course, consult your accountant.
Please do.
And I didn't know even about that until I had a deal where it was a higher wealth individual, and I talked to their accountant and said, they're like, no, there's a tax to that, but because you have this big of a dollar amount, you're exempt, that you didn't have to file any forms. So if I was to give you, $30,000 to go buy a house, yes, that cash is a gift up to a certain dollar amount before it's taxed. But in equity, it's different.
Okay. All right. Well, again, consult your CPA
We'd
for
have
that
a
information.
CPA on sometime to talk, but I think that'd be boring.
I'm sorry to the CPAs out there, but I'm not sure that would be a very exciting episode. But you know what is exciting? Shots.
Oh, no.
It is time. And I got to choose today, so means no tequila.
And we kept it local, right?
We did.
We kept it local?
So we're going to give a shout out to the Hard Truth people down in Brown County, Indiana.
Down in Nashville.
This is cinnamon vodka from Hard Truth. If you have not visited the Hard Truth place down in Brown County, I do recommend it.
Yeah, prepare your summer because they've got great
Oh
live
gosh, yeah,
music,
that place is
food.
very cool. The food is really good. They have a free concert venue out back with tiered seating, which is neat. My wife and I actually did a kind of a cool little four-wheeler tour. It wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Toured a four-wheeler?
So when we signed up for it, it was described as an ATV tour.
Experience.
Right. Well, that didn't stop me from drinking in advance. Yeah, so you visit several places down there in Brown County. You can sample various wines. You can sample some beers at various places. And so by the time I got to Hard Truth, I was
Ready to ride a four-wheeler?
I was ready. And so in my head, I'm like, how am I going to be able to do this? No. Someone drives I would call it a gator. And
like side by side?
yeah, and you're sitting in the back as they're taking various. Now, that being said, it's a cool tour because they take you to about 5 or 6 different places on their property. And at each place, you get to sample various things.
That's
and
good.
so that was cool.
It's kind of like a redneck hayride.
It kind of is. And for those of us who like, my wife likes the Hard Truth spirits.
Yep.
And I like the Hard Truth
Water.
beers. It was good. The Quaffon beers, I guess. And so,
You
yeah,
like the peanut butter one?
the peanut butter beer.
The,
I don't know that I've had strawberry blonde. I've had 6 foot blonde. I've probably had the peanut butter
Can you
one, to
say
be
it
honest.
again?
Quaffon?
Yeah, I can't say that.
Oh, it's not hard.
Yeah, it
It's
doesn't.
2 words.
That won't come out of my mouth. But Matt Braun, my loan partner,
Yeah.
I work with every day.
Matt Braun, Quaffon?
Matt Braun loves that stuff.
Okay.
Like last time he came up here,
Hi, Matt.
I had to go to Total Wine and buy all of it that they had on the shelf.
No way.
The peanut butter one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure I've tasted it, to be honest. I don't generally like peanut butter flavored things. I like peanut butter. It's fine. But the flavoring just kind of,
He's got
it's
the
fine.
palate of I'm going to say a 9-year-old.
I like chicken nuggets.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to take him to Tony's Steakhouse. He wants the chicken nuggets.
Well, that's what we're doing. All right, so we got some cinnamon vodka from Hard Truth, and thanks to the Hard Truth people for being in existence.
Sponsorships are always welcome.
Always welcome.
Wow. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Not a burn like a...
No, not a burn. What's the one I'm thinking of?
It's antifreeze. It's made out of antifreeze. I think I have
Fireball. That's the one. Fireball.
That stuff
Thank
is
you.
made out of-
All right, backing up. One of the things you had mentioned with the gift of equity
Yes.
is earnest
Earnest
money.
money.
So in my world, earnest money is somewhat of a highly big deal. Not
In
going to
my
say,
world, Earnest Money's the guy that runs the Camps Cash.
okay. So earnest money, I guess I'll talk about that. So earnest money in Indiana, anyways, is not a required part of the transaction. But in most residential transactions, anyways, it is very typical for it to be included. And I recall back in my early days of buying a house, which would have been the late 90s, earnest money is not what it was called. It was called like a good faith down payment or something like that. Do you remember that at all?
I've been doing this since 1997. And
Has it always been?
earnest
Oh,
money.
okay.
Earnest
Well,
money. Like people, I have heard people call it a good faith deposit.
thank you.
But
Okay.
on the purchase agreement.
Well, there you go. So maybe it was just my old school realtor back in the late 90s who would have called it right. She's still doing business. Anyway, so earnest money is essentially your first payment on the house as the buyer.
No.
In Indiana,
That's
it
what you're gonna
is.
call it? I've never
I'm
heard
gonna
of it.
I'm gonna get to the description here.
I've never heard of
But
it
yes,
before. That's,
so-
that's interesting.
So earnest money is typically 1% of the purchase price. And the thing is that that's not the required amount, but that's the money, that's the amount that we kind of go for.
Do you know why we like 1%?
No, I don't
Because
actually.
on a conventional loan, a cash deposit of 1% or less doesn't have to be technically verified.
Okay.
I do have to verify that they made the earnest money deposit to make sure that the cash is counted at closing.
Yeah.
Right? So I have to prove they have it. But I don't have to verify where that 1% came from.
Okay.
Under Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac rules, our underwriters always ask for it anyway.
If they put more than 1%, does that
Gotta
change your
verify.
world? Got to verify?
Gotta
Okay.
verify, yeah.
Well,
That's
good to
where
know.
that 1% rule.
Yeah, okay, well, good to know. So when you pay that money, and it's usually due within, and depends on what your purchase agreement says, I always write it in as 3 business days, so we'll go with that. Within 3 business days, you have to submit that check or electronic payment or however it works out in your particular transaction, and that money is held by either the realtor on either side or the title company, and it's put into a non-interest earning account.
An escrow account.
An escrow account, thank you. So it's not earning interest for anybody, it's just essentially sitting there. That money does not go to the seller of the house until we get to closing. Now, that can come into play later on if somebody backs out of the transaction. And that's essentially what it's about. It's about affirming to the seller that a buyer is serious about purchasing the house, that they're willing to put up this amount of money to secure their bid or their purchase agreement for the property. And so it sits there and you go through the inspection process, you go through the appraisal process, and and this is what I usually tell my buyers, is when we get to the inspection is kind of where that becomes important. Because if the buyer backs out because of something that is legally allowed to back out, such as a defect or a safety concern found in the inspection, the seller is not willing to address those items or not willing to address them to the satisfaction of the buyer, then the buyer can back out. If they back out, they get that earnest money back because contractually they have the right to do that. And this is the description I usually give to people, if, let's say, you walk in and the bathroom is pink, there's pink tile on the walls, pink wallpaper, whatever, and the buyer says, I'm willing to buy the house, but on the inspection, after the inspection, they're like, I would like for them to remove the tile and put in new wallpaper in the bathroom, or at least take the wallpaper down. If the seller says no and the buyer backs out, that is neither a defect nor a safety concern. It is a cosmetic thing. Then they kill the deal. They could be liable for that earnest money. Now, I've been told.
I have a question real quick.
Go ahead.
If they agreed in the contract to make those repairs and then they didn't make them, now your earnest money still be yours?
It should be.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. If they agreed to do it, then absolutely.
Okay. I've always said I tell customers this: don't do anything stupid.
For sure.
Let's say the appraisal goes through, you go through underwriting, your insurance comes in within the prices and parameters that we're looking at. You passed inspection, and now you just decide you don't want the house anymore. You ain't getting your earnest money.
That's essentially what I tell my people. And that's the importance of working with a realtor who's going to explain things to you well. And I am very specific with people when I say defects and safety concerns. And I make it so that when we talk about an inspection response, that is the only thing we can focus on.
I'm going to give you a great example. This happened not this Friday, but last week one day. I don't know, it's such a bad day that I don't recall what day.
Okay.
So
sadly, I think it was the day we did our last podcast because you were having a rough day.
I posted on Facebook afterwards a thing of Jim Carrey as Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, where it said, "Just close a nightmare deal." And he's like, "Yes."
Uh-huh.
So what happened is I had a buyer that was buying somebody else's house, and my buyer was selling a house to a cash buyer. And we scheduled the closing, and it was a Thursday close, and my buyer went to do his, to sell his deal, and the buyer of his house didn't show up.
Oh.
So he just didn't show up to closing, and
that had to be bizarre.
So we got a phone call. He didn't show up because of an illness. I just air quoted that because I shouldn't have done it down here because it really was an illness, right? So we instantly had the title company do it to where they could email all the docs and all the seller's docs because it was cash. Right?
Yeah.
There's no mortgage document, so he could e-sign everything. And all he had to do was go send his wire. And I guess he was too sick to do that.
Oh,
so hard. The purchase agreement expired on Friday night at midnight. Okay, and this was on a Thursday.
Oh, boy.
This is when you have a really good realtor and you know you have a really good realtor. So my guy who is the buyer's agent on the house they're buying is the listing agent on the house that's selling. So he just called the other agent and said, "Hey, look, my person has already hired their movers to move. And I didn't know this, but moving is about 1% of the cost of the house. Did you know that?"
I have no idea.
Yeah, so they were buying $300 and their moving expenses were around $3,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he also had rented a piece of equipment at the house he was buying to install a fence at the cost of around $2,500 in equipment.
Yeah. Got to get an auger.
The listing agent literally said to the buyer's agent on that, "At midnight tonight, we will be sending you our mutual release. We will be keeping your $5,000 in earnest money that you put down, and it'll be up to my client if they're going to sue you for the additional costs that they are going to occur because of you not showing up today." So that was on Thursday night. They had till midnight on Friday.
Okay.
So the realtor called him Friday morning and started talking to him, and he said, hey, wait a second. We're going to have these conversations in arbitration with our client's attorneys present.
Oh!
He showed up at 1 o'clock to close that home on Friday, and my buyer got his house sold and was able to buy his house. Unfortunately, the agent involved on the other side was like, "Oh, we get it. We were actually, this is an advantage of having a good lender. We were 13 days early on our closing, so I wasn't at the end of our purchase agreement on the house he was buying. So the seller we wouldn't be out of contract.
Right.
The seller was cool with waiting. The seller was very helpful. The listing agent did a phenomenal job of explaining what was happening on our side to work through it. And we closed that the next day. We did the seller's signatures on the one they were buying via e-signature. The buyer did not come to our closing, so we didn't have to have that
Awkward conversation.
wonderful conversation. But that's the value, the risk of earnest money, which is what
Yep.
we're talking about, and the value of having, one, a knowledgeable agent, two, an agent that's going to fight for you, and in this case, three, an agent that just had some balls to go, I can't talk to you anymore. This has to happen in arbitration. Because the other agent on the other side was only in the business like a year, and she was like, I'm in trouble. And it wasn't her fault, it was her buyer's fault. You can't control people. If we could,
things would go much more smooth.
I'd control it. It's different stuff. You know?
Oh, man.
Yeah, so that's earnest money. So earnest money is always going to be a piece. Earnest money cannot be borrowed from a loan or a credit card.
Yep.
It's got to be your own money. Because in some cases we do have to verify where it came from. Never give cash as an earnest money. Never give cash as any part of your transaction.
Yeah, right.
And don't keep cash in your house. Just put it in the bank.
Oh, so
That's
the
another
money
thing.
that's under my mattress I need to get rid of?
So we had an insurance guy here last week. If your house burned down and you had cash in your basement,
I suppose that's a problem.
you just lost it. Yeah, but if it's in
Crap.
the bank, keep in mind. You know, I have people. This is a tangent, so I'm gonna keep it low. But I have people say, you know, I'm really afraid of the banks because I think the banks are going to go out of business. And understand that your money's covered as long as you don't have more than $225,000 in your checking account. I have a feeling that
I do not.
13 people watching the show today, none of them do, right?
Right.
So unless you have more than $225,000 in your account is covered as long as at the White House in Washington, D.C., we are still raising the American flag in the lawn.
Okay.
And I don't care how crappy you think the current or potential next president is, I don't think there's a future where we're raising another country's flag in that lawn, because I know that our veterans, our people, our military people today, our
They would
non-military
storm
militia
it.
people today are going to make
Storm
sure
it.
that the American flag.
Yeah,
flies
it doesn't
high.
matter
So
who's in the White
quit
House.
being afraid of the banks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So earnest money.
Okay, so again, I'm going to back up because you pointed out escrow.
Beep. Oh, we want to talk about escrow.
Yeah, escrow
There's
is
two types
it's a
of
big.
escrow to talk about too.
Well, and I will say to those of you, the 14 people watching out there,
I think this week, I think we're gonna have 30 views.
What?
On this one? Yeah.
All right,
But
all
we're
right.
growing in followers.
We
every
absolutely
week.
are. Yeah, we have been.
We are on our.
Oh, actually, wait.
We're on the steps of internet famous.
So last episode, Brad threw out a challenge at the end of the episode. So if you're still watching, keep watching because you never know. A $25 Amazon card, I believe,
Amazon
was on the
card.
line for the first person who could comment on the YouTube channel which of the two tequilas you mentioned on that particular episode.
Like right now, they're two of my. One of them's a longtime favorite, and the other one's a new time favorite.
All right, and if you've been watching it, I know it's been up here.
But you can't. You block out the top
Ah,
shelf
crap.
because they're not tall enough.
Well, you're
The
not
cameras-
tall. You should have gone up there and got it.
I can stand up there.
All right, well, there are two. And what were the two?
Fortaleza,
Uh-huh.
Cascawin.
Nice. Very, very well said. So those were either of the two, and we did have a winner.
We did Jamie McKinney.
Jamie McKinney. Thanks for watching, Jamie.
Actually, we actually almost had a winner before Jamie.
Someone who circumvented things, I heard.
My buddy Fred.
Fred. Maybe Fred deserves
Fred
a
and
bottle of
Peggy.
Casco-Queen.
Fred and Peggy are some of our dearest friends.
I've
Not
met
that-
met them. They're good
not
people.
That Dan and Jamie aren't.
Sure.
You haven't met them yet, but you will. Retired firefighter, phenomenal people as well.
Wait, were they at wine night? You said firefighter?
No, it was Andy
different
and
people.
Tammy.
Okay, thank you.
Another phenomenal.
They all run together. I apologize to all
So,
of you.
We were sitting at another wine night. They're trying to convert me to wine. They're trying to make me
It
a
ain't
wino.
working.
I don't know what a person that drinks too much tequila is called. Like a wino drinks on a wino. Tequila person, I think, is drunk. But we were eating pizza, and she made the comment about answering the question, and I said, "You just got to go on there and answer it." And she must have went home, typed in the answer, and then so she wins $25. I need to reach out to her to get her email and send her a $25 Amazon card. And I'm not going to do that every week.
Right. And I do want to say, for those of you who were interested, comments help us grow.
Yeah, they do.
Because we'll comment back and the algorithm gets fed. So even if you, and I know somebody had said,
Fred, that's why I started about Fred and Peggy. So Fred called me and he said, I know the answer to the question, but I don't speak Spanish and I can't spell it.
okay,
And I wasn't going to give him the answer.
as a former teacher and especially a math teacher, spelling never matters. All right. And number two, even if someone has answered the question previously, please answer anyways.
Yeah, go ahead and answer.
Because more comments we get, the more this grows. And Brad wants to be internet famous.
And
So
I'm
we're
gonna say
trying.
this, based on today, not because I can say this because it's already happened, but if one person would have typed in the word Cascawin,
Uh-huh.
and the next person would have typed in
Fortaleza.
Fortaleza,
Uh-huh.
I may have sent out 2.
Oh,
Amazon
see?
So you got to tune in because you don't know what day I'm going to throw out some love to Jeff Bezos.
Excellent. All right. So again,
Hang on a second. I think Amazon's in the driveway. No, that's not there.
Jamie, thanks for participating. Fred, thanks for participating. And for future reference, please throw out comments. It doesn't matter if someone else has already answered because, again, we're all about growth, and that's what we're trying to do.
My buddy Chuck commented today to me.
Hi, Chuck.
He knew the answer, but somebody had already
Yes,
won,
that's right.
so
that's
he
right.
didn't
Come
put it
on,
in.
Chuck. And
Put
Chuck,
it
I
in.
think, was a new subscriber.
Yeah, and Chuck's an amazing guy as well. Chuck works at a company here in Indianapolis. I know him from motocross racing. He's one of my moto buddies. And he actually really championed a program called Road to Recovery. I told you a little about this today.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Road to Recovery is a program that started with an injured motocross rider. He had a traumatic brain injury, and he needed help when he got hurt. So he developed this non-for-profit to help injured motocross racers. And Chuck really championed Road to Recovery for years and years. He was a great supporter and a builder of the program. And they expanded it into athletes that were injured in all action sports.
Wow, that's great.
When you think of the X Games,
Oh,
the
there's.
Gravity Games.
I can only imagine the number of injured people.
Yeah, so they really have put together an amazing program. And I really, I've never told Chuck to his face, but I really appreciate the work that he put into that. And
Nice job, Chuck.
The people that were paralyzed or severely injured really is amazing what they were able to do. And in this same kind of thought, J.O. was a rider with Nitro Circus, 27 years old. He was the first guy ever to do a triple backflip in the Gravity Games on a dirt bike. Absolutely amazing. He was a phenomenal rider. Travis Pastrana just put out a video about how awesome his spirit was and how amazing of a guy he was. He just passed away in an accident practicing that trick at home in Australia.
Wow.
Getting ready for an event, and was tragically killed on his bike doing a triple backflip on a motorcycle, which is just amazing. So J.O. was I've never met him. I've watched him in many, many videos and watched him over the years ride. It's pretty amazing. It's a big loss to the community.
Now, your son, as we've described in multiple occasions, former supercross rider.
Motocross rider.
Former motocross
He
rider.
was a super motocross rider.
Did he have trickery on his bike?
No. We stayed to racing.
So, but you may know the answer to my question. You said he did a triple backflip on a motorbike, right?
Yes.
How does one practice that?
Okay, so actually they do them in the foam pits.
Oh, okay.
So believe it or not,
It's got to be a gigantic foam pit.
They do. When we're done, I'll
Okay.
show you some videos. But freestyle motocross, which is what it really started out at the X Games in the early days. Travis Pastrana did his first backflip, and actually Mike Metzger, which was he's still a crazy guy.
Believe it
He
or
did a
not,
backflip.
names I know.
Yeah, and Travis Pastrana, Mike Jones. Mike Jones is another one that was a crazy guy back in the
A
day.
typical name.
Brian Deegan.
Okay.
Which is another really awesome freestyle motocross, whose son today is Hayden Deegan, a 250 rider who won the World Supercross 250 last year.
Cool.
Danger Boy Deegan. We have less than 1/8 of 100% of followers that he has. There's millions of followers.
You know what? We're gonna grow. We're gonna tag him in this, and we're gonna grow. Yeah. I'm sure that'll help.
He'll untag us in a minute. Although I said good
Leave
things
me
about
alone.
his dad,
Yeah, well, you never know.
So at any rate, yeah, we didn't do any tricks.
So,
Just
but they practice that in the foam pits.
in the foam pits, and then some will perfect it from that to I think a mulch pile.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
But the Nitro Circus, which is Travis Pastrana's
Which is
traveling group.
a hilarious name.
Oh,
Nitro
And
Circus.
you need to watch the Nitro Circus. They're amazing. But they have actually invented a landing ramp that is an air,
like an
a bounce
airbag?
house, like
Yeah,
a bounce
uh-huh.
house, and it's on the ramp. So when they land, that air helps absorb. Because if you think about these guys that are doing on a bicycle a triple backflip and doing a triple tail whip at the same time.
Jeez.
So they're spinning around 3 times while the bikes. I mean, the stuff they guys do on bicycles and really skateboards, and I mean, all of it's amazing.
It's truly amazing.
Like I've said many times before, sports that require 2 balls.
Oh, there is no doubt, ladies included. So, I mean, okay.
Well, we went off.
We went way off tangent. Escrow, where we were
Escrow and
at.
Earnest money were the things we were talking
Let's go
about.
to escrow. So what?
Let me give it there's 2 different types of escrow.
Okay.
So the escrow that most people are familiar with is the fact that their taxes and insurance on the home that they buy is escrowed or in their payment.
Okay.
So taxes and insurance are paid a couple different ways. In Indiana, specifically, taxes are paid twice a year, May 10th and November 10th, and it is an equal dollar amount. And that's paid to the state 2 times a year, and the insurance is paid once a year.
Yep.
In states like Michigan, they're paid a smaller amount in the summer and a larger amount in the winter.
Interesting.
In a state like Florida, it's just paid once a year. Your taxes are due December 31st, but if you pay them in November, there's a discount. And if you pay them in October, it's a bigger discount.
Well, okay.
So each state does it a little
That's good for me to
differently.
know because I may eventually live in Florida.
We're all going to live in Florida someday. That's
But
called purgatory.
won't it eventually be underwater?
Purgatory. No. You know, okay, you're sitting on another chair.
No,
Oh,
no,
shit,
don't go that
so
way. No.
My ice is melted, yet my glass has not got any deeper, right? So
Because
just-
you drink it.
Even if you don't, though. If you take a cup of
Your
ice,
science is
fill it
wrong.
full of water, and let the ice
Move
melt,
on
it
with
doesn't
your
overflow.
nonsense.
Okay. I call it global comforting because I hate winter.
Just keep going.
Global comforting. That's a great one, isn't it?
You know what? We're gonna make T-shirts.
Global comforting. If we can have like a big bonfire of tires burning in front.
So there are quotes. Yes, I'm cold, and then underneath is it says me 24/7. Who said that? That's gonna be global comforting underneath Brad Nickum.
Yeah, with a bonfire of tires burning.
That's it. Anybody got a cry cut out there? Because we need some T-shirts made. Sorry,
Aaron Yoder, YSD, make us some t-shirts.
Escrow.
Okay, so escrow. So that's the main escrow is where when you're making your payment, 1/12 of your payment every month is going into an escrow account to make your insurance payment when it's due.
Yep.
And 1/6 of your tax payment is going into an escrow account that will
Time
pay,
out. 1/6 of your mortgage payment is going into your.
1/6 of your tax payment.
Oh, okay. Well, it's
1/6
my
of
bad.
1/6 of your taxes
Okay.
going into
Thank you.
an escrow account. And then when your taxes are due, the mortgage company will make that tax payment.
There you go.
And at the end of the year, your mortgage company will make your insurance payment. So one of the things that happens at closing is there's an escrow account setup, which is usually a 2 to 3 month cushion
Yep.
of your escrow account. That is, so when your taxes go up or your insurance goes up, there's enough in that escrow account to pay it. And we all know that insurance doesn't go down, and we all know that taxes don't go down.
Generally not.
No, so that's how that works. That's your main escrow account.
Now wait.
Now-
Well, let me back up just a second.
Yep.
Because this actually has happened to me,
Yes.
where my escrow account got too big.
Negative.
No,
Oh,
it got too big.
yeah.
So the money being deposited into it got, and I don't even know what the amount is, but
Okay.
got to a certain amount where there was too much in there.
Cut you a check.
They gave me money back. So
Okay,
how did that happen?
So every year your escrow account is audited.
Oh,
The
okay.
government requires a certain percentage of money that can be held in escrow. So if you're over that, you're going to
Yeah.
get that sent to you.
Okay.
Now here's the negative of that.
Oh.
If taxes go up or insurance go up, let's say you forget to file your homestead exemption,
Mm-hmm.
our next thing to talk about. If you don't, your taxes are going to go up.
You know what? We're going to do it on the next episode.
Tune in. So if your taxes go up or your insurance goes up and now you don't have a big enough cushion to cover that amount, the mortgage company is going to go ahead and pay your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're going to go ahead and pay your insurance. But now they're going to adjust your payment to cover the negative amount of the escrow account and whatever that new payment is.
Woo.
But they're going to send you a statement before they do it to let you know your escrow account's going negative, say by $700. So they're going to say you can send us this $700, or we're going to increase your escrow, and your payment's going to go up to cover that. Once they cover it and your negative is covered, then your payment will come back down.
Okay.
So that is one form of escrow, and that's the most common escrow that we talk about.
Yep.
A different escrow is when there's something wrong with the house that can't be repaired because of weather, and the mortgage company is going to take the dollar amount plus 10% of that repair and hold it in an escrow account for that repair to be made. I.e.,
Yes, please. I have no idea.
let's say that I'm going to buy your house and the appraiser says this house needs a new roof on it,
Okay.
but it is frozen outside. So now we can't close on the house because they can't roof it because it's below freezing.
Yep.
So what they're going to do is they're going to take the dollar amount of that roof repair. The contractor will submit a quote of what that's going to cost. They'll add 10% to that quote, an overage in case something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The seller will agree to do an escrow. The buyer will agree to go into escrow. The lender will agree to go into escrow. And the contractor will agree to go into escrow. We'll go ahead and close on that house. That roof repair will go into an escrow account. When it's warm enough, the person will go out and roof the house. The appraiser will come back and say, yes, it's completed. Send that to the lender. The lender will see that it's completed and what the price is, and then release that money from that escrow account to pay the
roofer.
the roofer, and to give back any overage that was held in that account. So
Okay.
2 types of escrow.
I've not dealt with that yet.
The second type, you won't deal with it very often. It's hard to get approved. It has to be weather related. We live in an area, thanks to global warming, where it's easier to get things done.
What'd you call it? Not global comforting?
Global comforting. That's my new. If I was running for president right now,
That'd be you
yeah, it'd be
land on that one?
Make America warm again. That's the best yet.
So, I'm going to throw off on that. So, a buddy of mine goes to he is part owner of a cabin up in Canada, and so he'll go up there a couple times a year for fishing, and especially in the winter where he really enjoys it. And he takes a snowmobile, and I don't actually know where in Canada it is, but it's Canada. Don't say whatever it is. And so he recently got back from Canada in the last week, I think it was. And I asked him how his trip was, and he said, not good. It's like, why not? He says, there was no snow. And the ice, which is normally 3 feet thick, was 12 to 15 inches thick, which on an ice fishing tournament,
Bigger fella?
he's not, but when there's a lot of people on the ice, it's one of those. I don't know if they were, but I hope they had life vests on while they were standing over that water or the ice. But yeah, he said hardly anybody caught fish, and he didn't know if that was ice or weather related whatsoever. But he said there wasn't a lot of fish that were caught.
Fish are getting smarter.
Fish could be getting smarter. It's evolution.
Right, yeah. Hey, dude,
Social Darwinism.
that worm over there?
Don't eat that.
Don't eat that worm.
It's not real.
It is going to be a guy with a big hook hole in his mouth.
Believe Jerry. Look at that thing.
Look at that thing.
So yeah, he said there was that. There was hardly any snow. He goes, it was just not a good trip. And
Sounds amazing.
in my head, I'm like, well, that's kind of a global warming effect. Is they're just not getting enough snow.
Comforting.
Global comforting.
It reminds me of a couple of dumb guys I know that went ice fishing.
Is it Dumb and Dumber?
No,
No,
not
there's
Dumb
no
and
ice fishing in that one.
And they got out there and they got ready to do their ice hole thing, right?
All right, be ready for the dad joke.
And they hear this big voice.
There is no fish under the ice there.
So they pick up all their stuff, their little shanty,
Mm-hmm.
and they scoot on down the ice. They find a spot they think would be good. Nothing on the fish finder.
Well, of course, yeah.
The ice might be too thick or something. So
Right.
they get everything ready.
Water's too warm.
They get ready to drill, and they hear this godlike voice.
There's no fish there.
Like that?
And there's no fish under the ice there.
I'm sorry, I missed the ice part.
They're like, crap. So they pack up and they move all the way to the other end. They clean off a spot. They start to drill, and they hear the voice.
This is the arena manager.
So
There's no fish under the ice.
as you're saying this, I'm like, this is going to turn into being an ice rink, isn't it? Oh, that's awesome.
a great show.
You know what? We're going to end it right there. So I will just say thank you for tuning in. Do we have a trivia question today?
Nope, not today.
Not
Today's
today.
not a day.
All right.
We're gonna
Well,
win.
thanks for getting this far. But again, comments are important. So if you like today's episode, if you have anything to say whatsoever, please just drop a comment because we appreciate that. We like the fact that you're watching. We'll be back next time for Real Estate Makes Us Drink.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
We got stuff.
payments and what happens after you pay your house off.
Ooh.
And what happens at closing.
We have a list of stuff to hit, and this has already been too long. So thanks for watching. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, my friend.
Till next time, thanks for watching.